Welcome to the Twist News. I'm Erika Grey. And today we're going to talk about an article that deals with Censorship. Now, I'm going to call it Censorship because if I say the word, this video will not get views. So we'll put it like that. So this channel is about to get very interesting with terminology to make sure that these videos get out there. But this particular article, titled Federal Judge Blocks Biden Officials from Coordinating Censorship with Social Media Companies, proves that this is U.S. policy and it is being enacted from the top. Now, if you read this particular article, it talks about during the pandemic, and this was definitely a time of censorship. But I will tell you from experience that this mandate or this policy continues because I've done some shows showing how in other areas was also this policy. And this is pretty shocking because the United States has always been about free speech. But guess what, folks? Times have changed. Things changed. Guess what we no longer have in the US? We no longer have free speech. And if you were to see the number of words that get tagged, it's also very surprising because you almost can't talk about many of today's issues without getting tagged because you'll experience censorship. You almost can't talk about certain things in the news, and that's pretty shocking. So you need to do something. You need to contact your senator, your congressman about this issue because this is really in violation of what the United States was founded on. And it's not just the US. This is a worldwide phenomenon. We see different empires, and I'm calling them empires in this multipolar world, having different policy. And certain empires, like China, in China, the Chinese can only see what's produced in China. They can't see what's produced in another country. So that's a form of censorship. And then you also have in the European Union, its Digital Services Act, and the publishers are responsible for certain verbiage or for facts. Certain things also cannot be published there as well. The idea of facts goes to, well, who determines those facts? Because you can have facts on a different topic that literally span the gamut, depending on who it is providing the facts and who's doing the research and the type of research that they're doing. So in the EU, you essentially have their brand of democracy, and not only is their Digital Services Act have certain requirements, but also in their rule of law, there are also requirements so that, let's say, a nation might take a stand on an issue that's contrary to what falls within the scope of the European Union's brand of democracy. Now that nation can get penalized within their institutions or within their institutional structure. And also those journalists that are printing that version or that viewpoint would be considered violating the Digital Services Act because it would be considered non-factual, because it's not their brand. So you really get into some hairy, thorny areas here, and you see that in the end, there's not free speech. it's very difficult for journalists now who are coming out with certain views, and we're going to have to use words that you're not familiar with. So maybe you're going to find that interesting on this show. I'm going to use some very creative terminology like censorship. And if I use the word, the video's going to get tagged. And if it gets tagged, nobody sees it. So another interesting phenomenon of these modern times is that with the social networking companies, these large companies making decisions, many voices are quelled. I'm not sure if the SILNENCED word is tagged, so I'm not going to use it. They're quelled, squashed, like bugs, like you'd squash a bug. Yeah, we're squashed like bugs. That's essentially what they're doing to our voice, is we're being squashed like a bug. Our channels, our videos, our messages. So it's a pretty scary time. And I've talked about on this show the brands of democracy, because true democracy really does not exist. Although in India, I've spoken to an Indian in the past who talked about India's brand of democracy as being a true democracy. But the US brand, Europe's brand, is particular to what they declare and to what they write as the rules. And you actually have within their brand of democracy some pretty shocking views. So I can say it that way. I'll say it that way. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about President Biden, his policy, and the policy that just was not with the pandemic, but also is with all speech now that's public, that comes through the social networks. And so this is an unbelievable time in which we live. And almost as a journalist, you have to be with the major rags, but the major rags are also bought, okay? Bought. And the message is already going to be tailored. And so it's very difficult because all viewpoints should be listened to. And I'm not saying that viewpoints that would espouse anything that would be, I'm afraid to say the word, because any one of those words is going to get this video tagged. Bad. We'll say anything that's really bad, that we all agree is bad. Of course, that's a no-brainer, but it's gone above and beyond so that other viewpoints can't be heard. And then the people with the big dollars and the companies with the big dollars that pay into these big media outlets can really direct the speech, the narrative. And so that's what I'd like to talk about. So going forward, you're going to hear me use terms that are going to be creative on some of the topics that I like to discuss on this channel of information I think is you should have that fills the gap of what's not being reported. So that's it for today's broadcast. Please support this channel and check out the Amazon store where all of the guests that I bring on, their books, the authors, all of their books are featured. So you can go there. Also, the guest channels are featured on this channel. Stay tuned for more. And till next time, please check out my other videos, our other videos, and please subscribe today.